If you've been searching for action movies that don't just explode on screen, but actually leave you thinking after the credits roll, then today's list is going to hit differently, because we're talking about 5 Korean action films from CJ Entertainment that prove action can be smart, emotional, and insanely gripping at the same time. And I'm really curious as we go through these, which one would you actually sit down and watch first? Because honestly, some of these might completely change how you see action movies. Snowpiercer, 2013. Let's start with Snowpiercer, directed by Bong Joon-ho and starring Chris Evans. And I have to say, this is not your typical action movie at all. Because yes, there are fights, there are intense sequences, but what really stays with you is the idea behind it. A frozen world where the last survivors live on a train that never stops moving. And the class divide inside that train feels uncomfortably real. Like it's not even fiction anymore. And as you follow Curtis moving from the back of the train to the front, it feels less like a physical journey and more like a confrontation with power itself. And I want to ask you this. If you were in that train, would you actually risk everything to move forward, or would you just survive where you are? Because the movie really challenges that instinct. And personally, I think what makes Snowpiercer so powerful is that it doesn't give you easy answers. It forces you to question whether revolution even changes anything, and that's something you don't usually get from action films. Project Silence, 2024. Next up is Project Silence, and this one feels like pure tension from start to finish, starring Lee Sun-kyun, and the setup is already terrifying. A collapsing airport bridge, thick fog, and a group of strangers trapped together with something unknown hunting them. And I think what really works here is the combination of disaster and thriller. Because it's not just about surviving the environment, it's about surviving what's hidden inside it. And I'm always fascinated by these kinds of stories where strangers are forced to trust each other. Because let's be honest, in real life, would you trust random people in a life or death situation, or would you only rely on yourself? And this movie kind of pushes that dilemma to the edge. And personally, I feel like films like this remind us that humans can be just as dangerous as the threat itself. And I'd love to know from you, do you watch movies like this for the adrenaline or for the psychological tension? Because Project Silence definitely delivers both. Now let's talk about something completely different. Alienoid: Return to the Future, starring Kim Tae-ri and Jo Woo-jin. And this movie is honestly wild in the best way possible, because it mixes sci-fi, historical fantasy, time travel, and action all into one story. And somehow it works. And what I love about this film is how unpredictable it feels. Like you're constantly jumping between timelines, dealing with alien substances, ancient swords, and modern chaos. And it makes you think about how far Korean cinema is willing to go creatively compared to Hollywood formulas. And I want to throw this question to you. Do you prefer action movies that are grounded and realistic, or ones that go completely crazy like this? Because Alienoid definitely doesn't play it safe. And in my opinion, that's exactly why it stands out. It's messy at times, sure, but it's also bold. And I think we need more films that are willing to take risks like this. Confidential Assignment 2. Then we have Confidential Assignment 2, International, starring Hanbin Yoo-hae-jin and Daniel Henney. And this one is just pure entertainment. Like if you're looking for something fun, fast-paced, and full of chemistry between characters, this is it. And what really makes this movie enjoyable is the dynamic between the North Korean detective, the South Korean detective, and the FBI agent, because they're all so different, yet somehow they make it work. And I think that's what keeps the film engaging beyond just the action scenes. And let me ask you this. Do you think action movies are better when they include humor? Or do you prefer them serious all the way through? Because for me, I actually think the humor here makes the action hit harder. It gives you room to breathe before pulling you back into the chaos. And honestly, not every movie needs to be deep to be good. Sometimes it just needs to be fun. And this film understands that perfectly. Veteran, 2015. Finally, we have Veteran, starring Hwang Jung-min and Yoo Ah-in. And this is where things get personal, because this film feels a little too real. It's about a detective chasing a powerful, untouchable young billionaire who keeps escaping justice. And I think what makes Veteran so impactful is how relatable its theme is. Corruption, power abuse, and the frustration of seeing the law fail. And as you watch Seo Do-chul refuse to give up, it almost feels like you're rooting for more than just a character. You're rooting for justice itself. And I want to know your thoughts on this. Do you think movies like this reflect reality or exaggerate it for drama? Because honestly, I feel like it's closer to reality than we'd like to admit. And that's what makes it so satisfying when the story finally delivers that sense of payoff. And in my opinion, this is one of those films that proves action can be both entertaining and meaningful at the same time. So looking at all these films together, I think what makes CJ Entertainment stand out is not just the scale of their action, but the variety. You've got dystopian rebellion, survival horror, sci-fi chaos, buddy cop comedy, and grounded crime drama all in one lineup. And that's honestly impressive. And now I want to hear from you. Which of these films are you adding to your watch list first? And more importantly, what kind of action movie do you actually enjoy the most? Something deep like Snowpiercer or Veteran? Or something wild and fun like Alienoid and Confidential Assignment? Because your answers might actually shape the next list we talk about.